Going on, guys? It's the Premier League fan show called The North End. Some crazy breaking news today, and we're going to talk about it. So let's go.
This is the North End. This is the North End.
Guys, I woke up today to some breaking news, some really intense stuff, some stuff I didn't know how to feel about it. I was a mixture of a lot of emotions. Generally, I was very confused, a bit upset. I am, of course, talking about the tragic demise of porn star legend Jesse Jane. And then I read about Jurgen Klopp deciding that he's going to quit Liverpool at the end of the season. And as a Man United fan, I had less torn emotions about it. So maybe I'm not the best person to react to it. But you know who it is? It's Azaz, who is a ride or die Jurgen Klopp lover, who's a huge Liverpool fan, who represents, I don't know, the North End, but is constantly at games in Liverpool. I don't know how he managed to do that all the time. And you are one of the most senior executives at the Toronto Liverpool Supporters Club. So if anybody's going to give an honest and raw reaction to today's news, it's going to be Azaz. Azaz, what's going on, man? How did you find out this morning? Walk me through the moment.
So I manage a team in Vienna. So the first thing I usually do once I start to capture a little of my, as soon as I wake up, I guess, the first thing I usually do is what fires are there in Austria, a couple of direct reports, other places too. And the first thing that was like pinging on my phone was like, Jurgen. And I was like, what are they talking about? Like, I had no idea. And then as we all do, we open our phone and like check social media, and I was absolutely flabbergasted. That was my first reaction, and I don't feel much better about it now.
I can only imagine. Has it been one of those ones where like it'll be worse tomorrow and worse? Because he is still there. He is still the manager of your team. It's the end of the season, which is, I thought I got my head around that. I'm just like, that's tough.
Yeah.
How do we feel about that?
There's so many emotions, on one hand, it's like we're having another phenomenal season like a couple of years ago. And so we're not in the Champions League, so it can never be as glorious as like the one where we're chasing all fronts, because we are in the Champions League's little brother, so to speak. We're still attacking the season on four fronts. So I guess from that perspective, the biggest hope for this season is that it doesn't derail us. And you'll know from our North End chat that, in my opinion, is a big possibility, because he does have such a big influence over the club and the fan base and the team. So the immediate thing is, I just hope that it doesn't end up derailing the season. In terms of it being towards like we've got him for the rest of the season, that's also interesting, because Liverpool over the last couple of years, particularly under Klopp, have done this really interesting thing of giving people the flowers while they're on their way out. And the most famous one from last season was Roberto Firmino. And from my perspective, I don't necessarily love it. It's part of Liverpool, as in to have that emotional connection with players and managers. But at the same time, clearly there is the opportunity there that it can take a bit of a competitive edge off people when you start to get certain emotions involved as well. So very mixed feelings about the timing of it. Obviously gutted and devastated that it's happening. Then you add the layer of the timing on it. So it's a lot. It's a lot. Like, I'm just shell-shocked. Absolutely shell-shocked.
Do you think, so I lived through the shock of Ferguson announcing that he was going to be going, and honestly, the players, like, it just went south real fucking fast. Like, it was not good times. Do you think this will go one of two ways? And it's probably going to go down the middle, to be honest. But like, let's talk about the two extremes. Will they either, oh shit, and like maybe the emotions of it take over and performance dips, or will they rally and be like, well, if he's going out a champion because we love this guy, which is the other way at it if we play it right?
Yeah, so
will react to?
My instinct says the second one, which is it's going to be a blaze of glory and they're all going to get on board and they're like, this guy's going out as a winner. But that's just kind of how I'm wired. Like, I feel like in the different social groups and WhatsApp groups that I'm in, I'm hearing all gamut of the emotion. So my inclination is to go with the people are going to rally behind him and really try to honor him as a leader and make sure that he goes out on a high. And so that's my narrative at the moment until the players or anyone else prove me otherwise.
I'm really curious how it goes. Like, I mean, this is like one of those seasons where usually I'd be like, oh, well, I hope they crash and burn. But I am tired of Man City and being so dominant. I'm kind of hoping that Klopp in his last legs in the Premier League can make a run at Man City.
Hmm.
So I'm like not entirely where I usually would be. And also, frankly, as a United fan who's been a distant admirer of this gentleman for a long time, I'm going to miss him from the Premier League because I think he's a massive character. And we don't really have the same level of characters anymore that Jose is out, although he'll probably come back and manage Newcastle. So
Yeah.
I'm a little bit bummed by it, even though I do personally think that this is maybe the end of an era of not dominance per se, but like certainly against my team, dominance against my team. But I do think his replacement will be hard done by, and it might take a couple of seasons to kind of land on it. So I'm
Hmm.
at the top of everybody's list. Like what everybody's saying right now is immediately it's Xabi Alonso,
Yeah.
who's killing it in the Bundesliga. He's reinvented football. He's a legend at football. He must be the guy that comes in. Do you put any weight to those rumors, or does it feel a little bit too? We're connecting the dots because he's a legend of the club and he's a manager who's doing really well, and obviously that means he must be coming in next. Like, what is your
Yeah.
and would you like to see him come in next?
Yeah, so it is definitely too early to say. The only person I want that's currently in the world of management to manage Liverpool next is Xabi Alonso, and that was a 2026 thing. So it's at least 2 years too early, even for me. So I can speak on the fact that I've commented on Shabby being our next manager. I've tried to do my as much due diligence as possible in watching Leverkusen and hearing what people are saying about him. You know, like there's some English speaking German experts like Rafa Honigstein who are like doing some really good audio think pieces about him, and BBC did something. So I was already on my journey of trying to get as much information about him, all
Mm-hmm.
with the thought that where's this guy going to be in 2 years?
Mm-hmm.
If there was ever a positive spin I could put on this as a pretty eternal optimist, I should say,
Mm-hmm.
I think that the one thing that could make this slightly easier is Xabi Alonso coming in because he's a legend of the club. He's also probably in that like very new manager like group. He's probably at the moment furthest in his development. It can all go south really quickly. It could even go south for him this year. We know how infamous Bayern are at somehow pulling these miracles off in the one team league.
Yeah.
But I do think that the parallels of any league being closest to the Premier League being Bundesliga are true. Like I do
Sure.
think there's naturally differences, but I do think the physicality and the fact that we brought in Soboslai and Gravenberch from the
Mm-hmm.
Bundesliga, I do think that there is the natural fit in the game there. For him, it would be a harder transition, even though so Xabi Alonso, like a bunch of these Spanish people from his generation, they conquered football playing. He's one of the guys that won leagues, he won Champions Leagues, he won the World Cup, he won the European Championships, he won everything. He completed football. But as a manager, then going to like a Real Madrid or even a Real Sociedad, which is his club, that's a totally different conversation than going from the Bundesliga to the Premier League. The last
Right.
part I'd say about this from his perspective is the Premier League is where it's at, right? Like I get like there's the Bellinghams and the Vinicius and, there are stars in Spain. There's one huge star in France. There's a couple of people in Germany. One huge Premier League star went there this season. But honestly, like the league of this era is the Premier League. And it comes with, whenever you say that to people, I know we're a Premier League show. If you say that to some people, they're like, oh, like Premier League elitist, arrogant, blah, blah, blah. But you know what? Serie A was the league in the 90s. Like La Liga had its time at the top during the 2000s. So right now, the league to be in is the Premier League, and Xabi Alonso has no other relationship with any other club than Liverpool in the Premier League. So that's the only thing I would say there.
Sure. I mean, I will throw in
yeah,
the other
yeah,
counterpoint, which is I don't know if you're aware of this, but Real Madrid are also very big
yeah,
fans of him as a person
yeah,
and are always looking for a really good Spanish manager
yeah,
specifically. So
100%.
if I had a
The
guess,
only the only thing there, Paul, is that Ancelotti just signed a new contract.
sure.
So, but that doesn't mean anything. I get it. Like Xabi becomes available. They're scared that he'll do a
Mhm.
long-term stint at Liverpool.
Mhm.
So they, change their minds and Don
Sure.
Carlo goes out on it. So anything can happen.
Yeah.
But like from my perspective, today is too early to talk about it. But the one person I can probably give an opinion on, like I just did, is Xabi
Right.
Alonso. If you
Right.
say any other name, I'm not interested at this moment.
Right.
Who deserve
I'm going to respect the rawness of the feelings. I'm going
Yeah,
to respect the
yeah,
rawness of the
yeah,
news. It's a little bit like
yeah.
hearing you just got dumped and going immediately like, so who got your eye on? You know what I mean? Like, I get it. So I don't
Great
want to press it too
analogy,
much.
mate. Perfect. Perfect.
So I'm gonna like this is really meant to be just more of a gut check, but like genuine question. In the time that you've been a Liverpool fan, in the icon status that is probably legendary, where does this man rank all time across anything related to Liverpool? So players, coaches, managers, owners, anything like
Yeah,
that. Like, is he, if there's a ranking system, like a top 5, top 10, like where is he to you, to give an audience like a perspective of like what he
yeah,
means to you as a
yeah,
Liverpool
yeah,
fan? Where would you put him?
yeah. Absolutely brilliant question, mate. What a question. For me, he is number one.
Mhm.
For Liverpool overall, I think he's number two to Kenny Dalglish. The reason being is because I missed like Kenny's playing days. So I have like remnants of Kenny's first stint as a manager. And then
Sure.
obviously he came back and he's the one man who
Yeah.
put the club on the back of his shoulders
Yeah.
during
Yeah.
Hillsborough. So if you live through Kenny and Jurgen, then
Mhm.
it's very hard. The other one is Shankly, but again, I would be reaching to be like
Yeah.
Shankly's my number one
Oh
because
no,
he
I
might be
get it.
the
I get it.
club's number one. Yeah, it's like the Busby thing, right? It's
Yeah.
like if you live through Fergie, you can't really say Busby's number one because history
No,
says Busby's number one,
I
but
never
like
saw
your
Bobby Charlton
relationship is
play.
with Fergie.
Bobby Charlton
Yeah,
was a nice little man who I knew who was a legend. I never saw him play,
yeah,
but when he
yeah,
passed, I
yeah,
cried
yeah,
because I like it. The legendary status, the indoctrination of the culture of the club that comes with all these greats. But Ferguson was always really my guy, and then like a Cantona or somebody like this. But no, I think Klopp has done enough. And like I mean, here's something I will say. I think there's a lot of people, particularly people of my class, who are like Man United fans, who are tempted to talk shit about this, who will say things like he's only won one
they
league,
are.
he's won a couple
They
Champions
already
League.
are. They already
They're
are.
saying all
Yeah,
these
yeah, yeah.
things, but I'm like, well, that's
Yeah.
such an like I don't know. There's a respectful way to be rivals. I wasn't excited when Arsene Wenger got fired. I was like, he has been such a good rival for us. You need to have that other side of the field that can be up against a great manager or a great club. If you want to be a great club, you have to have
Yeah.
those rivals, and you can form respect through that. And I definitely, like I said before, had a lot of respect for him as a manager. I still do. I'm looking forward to see what he does through the end of the season. I think it's going to be fireworks. But yeah, if anybody's out there talking shit about feelings and all the feels about this guy being a great manager for Liverpool, in the modern age, there's few in the Premier League specifically who have done as much as he has been able to do with a club that is not Man City and under investigation and going to get relegated and all these other things, all these things that we say to minimize what Man City have done. Just remember, in Klopp's time, his greatest rival every year was Man City, and they're cheating. So,
Yeah.
respect.
So the only thing I have left to say about that, mate, is firstly, respectfully, we are often in our WhatsApp group probably on differing side of opinions, potentially, because other than the fact that what you just said about Man City, but often you're coming at it from a Man United lens, I'm coming at it from a Liverpool lens. But at the same time, I would rather have nobody else ask me the questions you did because you've experienced this with Alex Ferguson, and it
Oh, I get
might
it.
be bigger and it might be deeper because Fergie was there longer,
Sure.
but at the same time, it felt more of a natural end to Fergie because he was
Sure,
fully
yeah.
retiring. So there's,
Totally.
so there's like pluses and minuses and all that stuff. This feels a little bit sudden and premature. That one felt sudden, but it was also still 12 years after he was originally supposed to be leaving. So like the writing was on the wall at some point. But the fact that you've actually experienced, number one, that kinship and relationship with the manager, and number two, they both won the fucking lot, and like whether Klopp did it in like a 2-3 year span and Fergie did it more times but over 14 years. So sorry, not 14 years, 14 titles, 20 something years, nearly 30 years. The fact of the matter is you experienced every emotion of winning every title with this manager. It comes with a huge thing. So I appreciate the time this afternoon.
It's a real relationship that you form with somebody that you may never meet and you probably won't ever meet. You might have met him for all I know. You're always at Liverpool. Yeah. I'm so jealous of that.
I haven't. But I haven't.
I get
there are some. Yeah.
Totally. I always like it's not your regular banter stuff. There are legitimate feelings and emotions that are at play, and I tend to like walk back and like be a little bit more respectful of that kind of stuff, particularly since it's such fresh news for you. So I do appreciate that you're giving us an honest answer for what has been tremendously, I thought, surprising news. I was like generally like did not see this coming. But I don't know, more to come. It will unfold over the rest of the season. He's not gone yet. He's still going to be there. We're going to see what happens for the rest of the season. And that's it, man. So that's our reaction, everybody.
Thank you,
guys. That's our reaction. Look at us. We organized a reaction video. We did it in the same day the news broke.
Proud of
like
us.
and subscribe, everybody.
Take care. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
This is the North End.